what you got. We're going all the way to the top. We will hear the sound of 1 million people screaming our names when we're backstage. We'll play loud, surfing the...
Mate, what are you doing?
This is because I'm fucking sick and tired of you not talking into the microphone when we're recording.
Stop turning it fucking down then. You're going to pie me.
You are going to get pied for every time you do not talk into the microphone.
Alright, calm the fuck down. That's not pieing, that's drenching.
Oh my God, it's almost all gone.
Yay.
You got 2. Right, peeps? This episode, you may well see Kaz get pied. Oh, almost. Hey! Right.
Oh my God.
So, if you do not talk into the microphone, I'm telling you now, they are going for a treat. You're getting pied.
Mate, you'd be licking it off.
Welcome back to the Dan Wheeler Show, featuring this legend.
Pie.
How are we all? Pie. Oh, episode 8, mate.
Episode 8.
8.
So exciting.
So, for those that don't know, we're filming 8 today. We're filming 9 tomorrow, or the day after. And that means that next time we film, it'll be double figures.
I like a double figure. I like double numbers.
Do you know what is quite funny, right? So, what I find interesting about penises in general, right, is unless you're
going straight in, yeah.
Well, you mentioned size, so I'll just go straight in. Unless you're born with a whopper, which most men aren't, right? Unless you're born with a whopper, you're obviously going to be very confident with your penis, right? So for 90% of the rest of the population, you've just got, mediums, normals, averages, less than averages, whatever it may be. When a woman says, even as a joke, when a woman says, 10 inches, could you imagine a dick this big?
Oh, my God, mate. That would not even be
Could you imagine?
Mate, I can't even get my hand around it.
Mike's a lucky man. But I just find it really interesting because men aren't going around going, oh yeah, I wish there was a 2-inch vagina.
No, but you
do you know what I mean? You don't get fanny shamed.
No, but you do love a pair of boobs, and you.
Yeah, boobs are different to penises.
Well.
Boobs are different to penises. But boobs they're not the main dish.
No.
No, you got your filet steak. That's the main dish. But your boobs are your dauphinoise potatoes. You can't have one without the other, and the more potato, the better.
And the more dauphinoise sauce, they're better.
They're better,
well,
right?
Funny you should say about sizes. No, I'm right next to it, okay?
Oh, that's what she said. Oh, that's what she said.
Step away with the pie.
Why can't I hear you?
I can hear me.
Right, hold on.
I don't think it's me. I think it's the board.
Hold on, keep talking.
No, because you're going to smash me in the face.
No, I'm just trying to turn your mic up.
He's trying to turn me up. Anyway, all right. I was watching his TikTok the other day. I can hardly hear myself now.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. It's not me.
Can you hear yourself now?
No. Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
right, we've sorted it again.
Hopefully you can.
Are we close?
Nowhere near.
I can hear you now.
There we go.
Oh, we're lucky.
Oh, God, I was lucky.
It's all melting. I'm going to have to use it soon.
I saw this TikTok the other day, and it was... forgive me, I've forgotten your name, but she's on OnlyFans.
Dan Wheeler. Oh, right.
And she's got this.
Oh, I know who you mean. Is it Becky? Becca?
Could be.
I know who you mean. The traffic cone lady.
Traffic cone lady. I didn't want to say that, but you know what I mean. And she was saying about she's done the biggest and the best and all that.
She has a massive vagina,
right?
yeah.
But she said the problem is they're not really that helpful when they're that big because they don't get as hard.
Yeah,
and the
they bend in the middle.
And she said, and you sit on it and you end up bending them. And she said, so, for all the men out there go, oh, the woman wants this. They really don't. What
it boils down to, and you know what? Let's segue rather than comedy. Let's have a serious conversation about this for a second. When I was a teenager, I was insecure, right? And I think most people are insecure in their teenagers.
What teenager
right?
isn't? Yeah.
And then I kind of got to my mid-20s, and I had a few, one-night stands and relationships and whatnot, and my insecurity completely disappeared because I experienced enough vagina to know that vaginas come in all different shapes and sizes as well.
See, no, I didn't know this. And
yeah.
It's mental.
There are large large vaginas and there are teeny tiny vaginas, and there are teeny tiny penises and there are large penises. So it really is just a case of about finding
finding
who fits, right?
Yeah.
I had a relationship with God, how old was I? 25, I think, 26 maybe. A short-term relationship with a lady who had 3 kids, lovely woman, brilliant. She just had a very large vagina, right? And I don't have a huge penis, right? I've got a normal penis. But we just weren't compatible.
Because of
I
that.
didn't know if I was in. That's how big the vagina was. And that's not to shame her.
Wow.
We just weren't compatible.
And the thing is, I always say to Mike, it's got to fit like a puzzle piece.
It's like a puzzle piece, right?
It's got to be a puzzle piece, the right size for the right fit for you.
And I've also been with girls where we've had to use lube to get it in.
Yeah.
Like it's a slow process and, you've got to take your time. And I've been with girls that go straight in. I've been with girls where I didn't know I was in. So there is such a variety of vaginas and there is such a variety of penises. Any boys out there, just chill. You just got to find the right vagina. That's all it is. And the right vagina will work perfectly, just like the right penis will work perfectly.
Yeah, because I've experienced a really large one, and it wasn't the right fit.
It just wasn't the right fit.
But you know what? He was a lovely guy. I was gutted. He was a really nice guy.
Damn it. He was good looking. He was lovely. Damn it, he had a big penis.
Everything most women would want, but if you haven't got a massive vagina, then it's difficult.
It's a fascinating
Mate,
conundrum.
When I saw it, I nearly fell off the bed.
My mate at college was called Forearm.
It was a baby arm.
Yeah.
Literally a baby arm.
Yeah, and I remember seeing it a couple of times because you get drunk and pull it out in the pub and whatnot. And I remember thinking to myself, my first thought was, fuck, I'd love a penis that big. And my second thought was, actually, I'm not sure if I would, because there was one type of girl who was really interested in a massive penis, but most girls were like, like, is that going to fit? And the women know how big they are, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Go on.
So ladies in the comments, we need to know your
How
story.
big is your vagina?
No, we need to know, have you ever been?
Can you fit squirty cream? I mean, I can't even connect my fingers with that one.
It's not even like...
Hold on. Oh my God.
Exactly. If you can't get your...
Sorry, boys.
Well, you're totally...
I couldn't even get my mouth around that. So anyway, when I've seen the dudes with cocks that big in cornos...
In corn.
We're not allowed to say the P.
Yes.
And there were girls who were taking all of it. I'm just like, wow, that's a big vagina.
I've seen them do that and another one at the same time.
In both, yeah.
And then you just start there going,
they're athletes.
that's a skill.
Professional
That's
athletes.
A skill. Oh, we've digressed straight away.
We have. Guys, welcome back to the show. Now, I have an interesting / what I thought was quite a funny story.
I thought you were going to say you had a complaint to
No.
make.
Rowley and I went for a little walk this weekend. Stephen Rowland, one of my closest friends, he was
How
up
is
this
he?
weekend. He's great, as
I'm glad
always.
you never called him your best friend, because I got that.
No, he's
title.
one of my closest. You're my best.
Thank
There's no
you.
gender, unlike you, who's got a best boy girlfriend.
No, I've put that to bed now.
Good. Fucking fuck
Put
you,
it to
Kelly.
bed.
Fuck you, mate. I won! This is really melting, mate. If I don't pie you soon, look how much it's flapping.
Oh, mate.
Anyway.
You can't pie me. It's going to go in my hair.
Are you not breathing into the? Are you not speaking into the microphone again?
It'll be in my hair. I'm literally like, you can see me moving it round.
We were walking through Burwash, and there's a church in Burwash. It's a lovely church.
Yeah.
And I've been inside, and it's fucking beautiful. Architecture's amazing. There's quite a few people buried around there, and they got a World War II statue just outside, monument thing.
Yes,
it's a lovely place.
When it's the people whose names are on the thing.
Yeah.
They light up the top as well.
It's beautiful.
remember
Little
their
candlelight at the
birthdays.
top. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And we were walking past, and there was an ambulance with its blue flashing lights parked directly outside the church.
Oh, shit.
Now, what perspired was...
Perspired? Is that a word? I thought it was like...
What perspired? What?
Perspired?
That is the word.
Sweating.
What perspired? What's the word there,
I don't
guys?
know.
What? Okay, what happened?
I don't know what that means.
What happened was a lady had fainted in the congregation while they were doing service.
Oh no!
Right. However, my mind went straight to the paramedics couldn't bring someone back round to life, so they skipped the morgue and went straight to the fucking church. Where can we put this, boys?
Do you know when you said that, I was like, that'll save my journey.
I couldn't help but think they've just skipped a few steps and gone, look, we're done with the
Just
paperwork
pop it
now.
in the ground.
Is there a hole we can dump this one in?
Yeah.
I just thought that was brilliant.
At the end of the day, she's you. Why waste an Uber?
Why waste an Uber? I also love the idea as well. Like, if you're a religious person,
Imagine if you wouldn't want a better place to die.
surely it's the pinnacle. Surely, if you've dedicated your life to religion and you're in church when you're 90, and you call it a day there and then,
You'd be
what
one
better
happy
place?
person, wouldn't you?
What better place to
Yeah.
die? So it got me thinking: is that why old people go to church?
In case they die.
No, because they're trying to die in church to save all the hassle. Could you imagine?
Do you know what? Right. Talking of old people, I used to
Oh,
run.
when's your birthday?
I used to run a cafe, right? And we used to call them the older generation used to come in for food, right? And we had this one particular guy, Bill. I'm so worried about that.
Yeah, it's now dripping.
It's now dripping. Oh.
Carry on.
And he would come in and he'd have his food and he'd tell us stories about, him and his wife because she'd passed away. And it's beautiful. And he was English.
Yep.
And we're not racist. We used to get all the flags.
When anyone says, I'm not racist, but...
I didn't say but. We used to get all the flags out for St. George's Day and we'd make him a little cake. And
Well, that's
put the
English.
flags on.
Great.
Exactly, yeah. So
Oh, you're in Wales.
I'm
Is that
in
what you're saying?
Wales,
Right,
yeah,
fine.
right?
Okay.
So because
It's
we used
racist.
we used to have banter because he was Scottish, he was.
So you were racist to him because he was Scottish?
No.
You just called it banter.
It was banter.
Carry on.
So he used to go and he'd leave his mate and he'd always what?
I'm listening, mate.
What did you do?
I didn't do anything.
Okay. And I got all worried.
I was listening, go on.
And will you stop doing that?
Go on, carry on.
And he would he'd pay with his shrapnel always for his food, never a note because he was tight, right? And then he'd go, right, Karen, I can't do the accent. I'll see you tomorrow. That's Irish.
Guy from Jamaica, apparently, in Wales.
There's loads. And
That's racist. we can't add that now.
is that racist? There's loads of Jamaicans in Cardiff.
Okay, but the way you said it, you were like, oh, there's loads.
I was the only white person when I grew up. So
No, it's
I was
racism!
saying,
Stop it!
It's not.
Of course it's not. Go on.
Can I get to the end of this
Yes!
story? It's not even funny now.
Go on.
And he used to say, I'd say, see you tomorrow then, Bill. And he'd go, oh, if I'm unlucky enough to wake up.
If I make it.
No, if I'm unlucky enough to wake up.
I remember my granddad very specifically saying to me one day, he woke up one morning, came out to fix his computer. Well, are you all right? He goes, yeah, I didn't fucking die last night, did I?
Pretty much it, yeah.
So, okay, we got to that point, have we?
Bearing in mind, he was 70.
Wow. Just giving up already.
You were never ready.
Now, when is the age? I'm always going through this. I'm about to hit my midlife crisis, I think, right? 40's knocking on the door. Now, I know you've already been through it, right? But 40's
going.
I'm 40. I'm 38 this year. Fuck, I'm 38 this year.
It's 48,
I'm
guys.
38 this year, which means I've got 2.5 years left, really, until I'm 40. 2.5 years, I'll be a month away from 40. And the number 40 doesn't really annoy me or scare me, but it's the signification or the what's the word I'm looking for? It's a point that marks when a man's prime is coming to an end.
Your prime never comes to an end as a man.
Well, it does. Like a 70-year-old man is not in his fucking prime, right?
Yeah, but you still can perform and do.
No,
what you
but
need
when
to
I
do
say
and-
prime, I mean, I'm a very confident.
I know
I'm
you
self-claimed alpha male, right? And as an alpha male, as someone who likes to lead, as someone who likes to be confident around other people, that likes to show direction, as someone who likes to do that, my fear is, when does that end? right? Now, let me give you an example. I used to work in a pub when I was 18. I turned 18. I got a job in a pub that day. I was obsessed with working in the pub. Crossing Hand in Crossing Hand near Five Ashes in East Sussex.
Crossing Hand in Jamaica.
That's where I met that's where I met my first girlfriend, Julie. He was 38 at the time. I know what you're thinking.
All right, me Julie.
She taught me everything. She was amazing. Still got a great relationship with her, actually. It was brilliant. She lives down the road. And we worked in the pub, and there was a guy in there called John. Now, John was the local, but John was the guy everyone went to fix a problem. Right?
Okay.
He was a bit of a hard nut. He was a bit of a geezer, bit of a lad.
As you do.
He was a labourer. He ran a labouring company. So if anyone needed anything doing,
went to John.
The pub would go to John, right? So I'd be, pouring pints all night, and people would be coming in and out to see John.
Wow!
Almost, I'd liken it to a mafia boss, but
It's
not,
like
but
the
not a
hub of the
mafia.
community
Kind of,
type
yeah.
thing,
But he was
yeah.
the man,
Yeah.
right? He was the top dog in the local area,
If you
right?
needed something done, you went to John.
He was a big unit. He was fucking frank. You didn't cross him, and if you did cross him, he would find some blokes to come and, he was that kind of guy,
Yeah.
right? And I saw him, I think he must have been 49, 50 when I first met him. And when I left, he must have been 55-ish, or the last time I saw him, 55. And I remember the first time seeing him thinking, fuck, there's an intimidating guy. There's a guy that knows what he wants from life. There's a guy who's confident. There's a guy who's the community hub. There's a guy who is, he's the prime. He's in his prime.
Yeah.
He's literally guiding multiple people throughout life, either to help, protect, or fuck over, whatever the thing may be. And then when I saw him at 55, I thought, fuck, you're a shell of a man now.
But it doesn't have to
You're
be
a
like that,
shell
though.
of a man. He couldn't walk properly. He was limping. He had lost all his, I don't want to say aggression or intimidation because it sounds like it's a negative. He lost all his confidence. He lost all his spunk,
Yeah.
metaphorically and literally. Do you know what I mean? He was just, he was turning into an old man. He wasn't an old man. 55 is not an old man, but he was now on that door.
They do change, but that's when you've
And that's what scares me. That's what I'm fearful of. And I don't know when that day is. Is it 50? Is it 55? Is it 60? And it's the unknown of that number that makes me think that 40 is the traffic light. Rather than green, it's not green at the moment. I can do what the fuck I want, within reason, obviously, at the moment. But it feels like it's moving to amber. And then after amber, it's red. We all know that. So that's kind of where I feel like 40 is this kind of 40, you go from green to amber. You've got maybe a decade left.
Listen.
And that's what's fearful. That's what's scary for me.
As long as you've got a good routine
Yeah.
in place, you keep yourself fit and healthy.
Yeah.
That day will happen when that day just happens.
Now, can I ask you a personal question?
Yes.
We can delete this if needed, if it's not
Okay.
something you want to go through with.
Okay.
But as a woman, hitting 40 is a big thing. I remember my mum hitting 40. I've dated girls who were in their late 30s and turned 40. And I always remember it, for most women, not everyone, but for most women, it's a more of an indicator because obviously the menopause is shortly to follow. Now, the menopause is obviously a poignant point for women because of fertility. They can no longer have children. Therefore, that chapter is over.
Yeah.
Now, with fertility issues, has that ever been a point in which you worried about? Because you're like, well, I've had fertility issues anyway, therefore kids aren't on the agenda anyway, therefore am I really worried about the menopause? Has that ever... Can you tell me a little bit more about that thought process?
It goes in waves on that one, if
Right.
you get what I mean, because...
Oh, fuck.
Oh,
Guys, this is...
it's now a cow pie.
This is... I'm going to have to throw this out.
Don't you put it on my head. No, don't put it on my head. Oh my God. So guys, for me, I don't know whether it was the same for you, but with having fertility issues anyway, not having children at a later age is not really an issue for me. But there was a point where I was having so many issues with my endometriosis, my adenomyosis, and just general health down there, that they were going to take away my womb and stuff. Now that then made me go, oh, I've got no choice now. They're going to take it away. So I had a moment of, I was just explaining, yeah. So I had a moment there, which I turned around to you as well, didn't I? And I said, well, it's going to cost me $7,500 to have my womb taken away. I might just do IVF one last time. Do you remember me saying that to you? And I was just bonkers, unthought through process, but that's the only time it's ever bothered me. I have no issue with my age. I have an older I got an older husband who's 8 years older than me, so I've never felt old because he's older than me. Well, the only person that makes me feel old is you, because you remind me constantly that I'm getting older.
Because I'm so young.
But I look younger than you, so hey.
I think you do, actually. Guys, in the comments, who looks younger? Be honest. If it's her, say it. If it's me, say it. But let's ask the opinion. Who's older? Just put 1 or 2 in the comments. Me being 1, of course.
Me being 2.
And her being 2. Because she's second at the end there. So 1 or 2.
It's not. You don't.
Who looks younger?
You do not brag about coming first, okay? That's just not what you do, ladies. Is it? Just tell him.
Go on.
So yeah. So for me, there is no. I had a bit of a midlife crisis, I think, when I left my job and I came to work for you.
Right.
And I think that was my midlife crisis start of.
Right.
Because then I went and bought a sports car, got myself a bit of Botox, and just generally run around like a teenager. It was brilliant. Loved it, right? It's got a bit calmer now because there's only 2 of us now. So it's calmed down, yeah? But I have no intention of growing old gracefully. I have no intention of quieting down. I have no intention of not being me. And I will be me. I will be that crazy aunt.
Oh, was that the microphone again?
Is it really?
Go on.
I will be that. I'll spin in your mouth. I don't want to know. I'll be that crazy aunt at every fucking wedding. And I will be the crazy woman down the road who's got fucking blue hair and just runs around like a teenager. I don't care.
Next question, right?
Go.
Now, we all know I've got cream on my hat.
Yes, Dan! That'll be ruined.
Help me, I can't work out
Turn around, let me wipe you off.
Rub that head, bitch.
Oh, it's even on the back.
Oh,
it's like you've got
it's in my ear! Oh, that's it.
It's like you've shot yourself in the face.
Wouldn't be the first time. Right, where is it? Is it on the back as well?
On the other side, here.
Bring what you got. We're going all the way to the top.
Guys, welcome back to the show. We have another Shits and Giggles. Oh. That's so good.
I think these guys are brilliant.
Let's dive straight in.
The other day, and it was hilarious to me. So Just Bait did a post the other day and said, "What's the worst thing a woman has done on the first date?"
Ooh.
Yes, I saw that.
What's the worst thing a woman's done on the first date?
I saw that on Twitter and I saw people doing different quote tweets and stuff.
That's a great question.
My first ever time I went down on a woman. Should I tell that story? Is it now appropriate?
Is now appropriate, yeah. If you have to ask, yeah.
Right, gang, you're going to have an exclusive. I'm going to tell you the first time I ever went down on a woman. All right.
I'm ready.
Picture the scene. I'm 17.
Okay.
Right? 17 years old. 17-year-old Daniel.
A 17-year-old.
All right. Curtains, the David Beckham curtains.
I've seen the pics.
The Eminem Slim Shady T-shirt.
Should we put a picture
No,
up?
they don't need to see that, Dan.
We've seen that, Dan.
And I'm going to change the girl's name. I'm going to call her Lucinda.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Lucinda was my best friend at school. We went to prom together. Got on great, right?
Nice.
It was never anything sexual, ever, right? One particular day, I'm going to give you the full story, right? So put the cat on.
But get along.
She dropped me, I think she dropped me a text, or she might have called me. I can't remember now. But she was like, "Do you want to go to Eastbourne Club?" There was a club in Eastbourne called Kings. And
had you been out partying together before this?
No, never been to a club. I was 17. Never been to a club.
No, like together. Had you been out together partying, drinking?
Yeah, loads of times. Yeah, loads of times.
Okay.
Nothing ever happened. It wasn't that a friendship. And however, she was like, "Do you want to come to Eastbourne? Do you want to come Kings?" I was like, "Mate, we're not going to get in." She was like, "We'll get in. I know the guy on the door." I was like, "Okay, fine." Got all dressed up, put a shirt on, got on the bus. 52 down to Eastbourne. Got down to Eastbourne.
I love it.
Met her outside Kings. We got into Kings, right?
Wow, she must have really known him well to let her
Got
in.
into Kings, and I think Lucinda was 17 at the time as well. Yeah, you were in the same class, so yeah, it must have been. And we get dancing. We have a few bottles of WKD,
Hooch.
Smirnoff Ice. What was the orange one?
The orange one.
There was an orange one.
Hooch. No, that was lemon, wasn't it?
Anyway,
Yeah.
we get dancing. We have a few more bottles. Getting thing. And anyway, and then all of a sudden, a bump and grind song comes on.
Yeah.
And she starts pushing her ass into my crutch. Anyway, I started getting a bit of semi. I'm thinking, oh, here we go. And then we start kissing on the dance floor. I'm like, oh, fuck. Right, okay. Anyway, she was like, do you want to go back to mine? I was like, yeah. I was thinking, right, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose my V plates because I hadn't had sex by this point. I didn't lose my virginity until I was 18. So I didn't lose it on this night. And anyway, we get a cab back to hers, and she lived down this private road that was gated. They had a lot of money, her parents. Anyway, we were walking to the thing, and that's when she turned around and she gave me my first ever blowjob.
Oh, wow.
Right? It was brilliant. I was loving it, right? But it was only for a few minute or two. She was like, let's get back to mine. So we get back to hers. Her parents on the top floor. We go into the living room, put a film on, get down and jiggy. Right? And she was like, oh, look me out. I was like, okay, brilliant. Now, at this point, my only reference point was porn. It's the only way I know how to...
I was just about to say to you, what was your guidance at this
I'd never
point?
done it before. I'd only spoke to my friends about it and porn, right? So I'm going down there, right? She lays down. I'm going down there. I'm doing what I think is right, right? And I'm getting all the right feedback. I'm getting the shaky legs. I'm getting the back arching. I'm getting all the right noises, right? So I keep doing my thing, right? And I'm getting some feedback. She was like, keep going. And I'm like, brilliant, right? Yeah. And then she comes. And I was like, do you want me to continue? She was like, yeah, brilliant. So I keep doing my thing, right? And she's getting so wet, right? I can feel it all in my mouth, and I'm swallowing it like it's just everywhere, right? I can feel it all in my mouth. I'm like getting all the good signs, right? She's like creaming. It was brilliant. The lights were off.
You must have been like, I am the best.
Oh, I thought I was the dad, the daddy. Right, and I'm thinking, getting all the feedback, it's all coming out. I was like, fucking, this is exactly what I see in pornos. It's brilliant. And the lights were off, so I couldn't do it. I was doing my thing. She comes again. I was like, do you want me to continue? She was like, yeah, go again. I'm doing my thing, right? Anyway, and again, it's just...
Can you just stop with the noises?
It's just gushing, right? And I'm swallowing it back, and I'm going to wipe my mouth and keep going. Anyway, she finishes off and she was like, now it's your turn. And I'm thinking, oh my God, here we go. So she gets up, she gets dressed again, she puts the lights on, and then she looks at me.
Why did she get dressed?
She looks at me.
Yeah. She's
staring with shock, with horrendous fear. I could see in her eyes. She was like this. And I'm like, what's wrong? She goes, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, what have you done? She goes, you've got to go to the bathroom right now. And I'm like, why? What's wrong? And she goes, Dan, and she starts crying. And she goes, Dan, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm like, what is going on? So I go to the bathroom in a panic, thinking, I don't know what I thought, going to the panic. And there's blood. Mate, I look like Hannibal Lecter, mate. It was everywhere. It was all on my white top, my shirt, all down my neck, all in here, and it's like, and then I remembered I was swallowing mouthfuls of it, and then I realised she'd come on halfway through us doing me doing my thing,
God.
right? And although I was getting all the pleasurable feedback, it turns out the juices that I was swallowing were not the right juices. The juices that I was swallowing was period blood. That's my first experience of going down on a girl. I genuinely had to have... I instantly regurgitated. I instantly threw up all over her bathroom, all in the sink, into the... I just was non-stop throwing up. It was just revolting. Lost all my erection.
It's the only thing he was really worried about.
I had to have therapy for 2 years after that.
Shut up!
I didn't go down on another girl for 2 years. I had to have therapy to help me get through it.
How did the therapist help you through it?
Well, I had a female... This is what it's meant to be like.
Let me show you how it really happens. You'll soon get over it.
And I was like,
it's cheaper.
Keep the lights on. If I see any red, I'm off.
I'm off.
Oh, so that's the worst thing that's ever happened to me on a date. What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you on a date?
I went out with this guy who was a squaddy.
Right.
And
that's an army. A soldier, for those that don't know.
He was a soldier. And we'd gone to this club, and it was the first time that I was meeting him without the group. Right? So we're there at this pub, and the next thing, he went all whooshy and started gurning.
Oh, no.
And
he dropped.
Literally face down on the fucking table, right?
Oh no.
So I'm like,
Oh no.
what do I do?
Yeah.
Mobile phones weren't even
Of
out,
course.
right?
Yeah. Well, we're talking 50 years ago, right?
Fuck you. So I've gone to the bouncer and gone, can you help me? Because I don't know
course.
what to do with this
Yeah,
guy.
you've killed him. Yeah.
Like, I don't know what he's taken. I don't know what he's, because I didn't even know what he'd done,
Sure.
right? So when we get back, he's not even on the table anymore. He's now on the floor, right? And he's just rolling around. And we ended up having to get an ambulance.
No way.
Take him to the hospital, and that was our first date.
Did you suck him off in the hospital?
No.
Oh.
And then when I went to see him the next day,
Yeah.
he was done the whole macho thing. What happened? I don't know what happened.
Of course.
And he's lying in the hospital bed, and he's got an IV drip in his arm.
Right.
And he pulled it out because he was like, I'm leaving.
Right.
And it just went.
Well, blood everywhere, really.
And I was covered in blood. And I was just like,
no.
nice.
I know how you feel.
Yeah, but it didn't go in my mouth, thank God.
I know how you feel.
Yeah.
Right, let's
So,
listen to some of these. That sounds
that wasn't
horrendous.
a great first day.
No, I can imagine.
He did
I
get
just-
another one, though.
Really?
He did,
You
yeah.
gave him a second shot?
We went again, yeah.
You weirdo.
Oh, no.
Was this the guy with the beer can?
No.
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 Grabbed a handful of them.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for this post because it finally allowed men to take the upper hand in this kind of ick war that's been going on.
yeah.
And
I
we've
saw
just
a
been
few of
taking
them.
L after L
Yeah,
after L
yeah,
after L
yeah.
after L. Fam, some of them are so funny. You know they're true.
I think I already know one of the ones you're going to read out, but continue because I saw it on Twitter.
All right, gang. All right, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, cool.
Bet.
All right, cool. So the first one. So, what's the worst thing a woman's done on a date? What's the worst thing a woman's done on the first date? Fucking hell. Told my wife we were on the date.
Ah, no. No.
Straight off the bat, told my wife we were on a date. Sweeted me. Bro, this one.
What were you doing on a date, mate?
Exactly.
Got in the car whilst on the phone and said, drive then.
What?
Got in the car whilst on the phone and
Whilst
said,
on the
fam,
phone.
drive then. Drive then.
First date.
First date, got in my car
The
while she's
disrespect.
chatting to someone else
Oh.
and said, drive then.
That is
Drive
so
then.
rude.
My blood will be fizzing.
Fam.
My mate Will, I won't say his surname. My mate Will went out with a girl called Hannah,
Yeah.
who he referred to as Hannah the Gagger, because she would do deep throat. And on this occasion, they were in his car, and during the deep throat, she was so drunk she threw up all over him, and then sucked the sick back in, swallowed it, and continued. This happened 2 or 3 times. His car was covered in sick that she didn't clean up.
Absolute truth.
And her name was Hannah the Gagger. 10 out of 10. You got a 10 out of 10 for effort. She's willing to drink that sick back down. It's come out. It's gone back down. And she carries on giving the deep. It's wife material, that is.
Listen, she must have really liked him.
Come out. Come out of
Get
the
out,
vehicle.
Get out the whole
Yeah, get out of my car,
First
bitch.
date.
You're
Drive
done.
then. Like, why
Drive
are
then?
we immobile?
Drive then.
Nah.
But like, that's like, yeah. Drive there.
Oh, sorry.
Why would you do that to anybody?
I'm middle of a conversation. I've had to pause my conversation to tell you how to do your job. Drive this car.
Just drive.
But you're on a date,
Destination. I'm
man.
hungry.
She's 1,000,000% from London. I can tell you that for
yeah.
a fact.
Yeah.
For a
She's not Welsh.
fact. She is from London.
100% probably.
And she's mixed white with some kind of Armenian stroke Turkish
Going all out.
stroke demting there.
Someone with audacity.
Tempting.
Yeah.
Someone with
Tempting.
audacity.
Yeah. Somewhere where there's usually, she's got bare sisters.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, lots.
And the dad's wealthy, but they chat to him like shit. I know exactly who this girl is.
It was his car she got
She's
into.
got one brother who's the youngest.
Yeah.
Bare sisters.
So he can't tell him shit.
Yeah, she's a middle child,
Yeah.
and she gets doted on at yard. And her mum and her sisters run the ting.
Ting.
Got in the ting and said,
got in the
drive
ting.
then.
The ting.
I'll be
She's
fam. I'll be like, what?
Have you heard the new slang for a woman? An attractive woman is now called peng.
Been peng for ages.
Peng. Grace tells me she goes to college and boys will come up to her and go, "What you saying, peng? What you saying, peng?
Mate, round
What you saying,
here,
peng?
You can't.
Peng."
Peng should not be used by any white person
And then
in the world.
peng ting.
No.
What you saying,
No.
peng ting?
Nobody under 20 and definitely not white.
Looking at like
Fam,
that.
who are you talking to?
Get out the car.
Who are you talking to?
Get out the
Answer
car.
me.
Date-
Answer me.
date
Drive
is
then.
Done. Date is done. Get out the car.
Yeah, date's ruined.
Shot, bring what you got. We're going all the way to the top.
Oh, God. And that. Oh, it's not coming
Guys,
off.
sorry about this.
It's not coming off.
So we've all got that nan or granddad or uncle and auntie who are set in their ways.
Yes.
Right? For example, I've got a member of the family who they must be in their late 60s now. And I saw them 6-7 months ago. And one of the first things that they said, they were talking about the Ukraine thing. And he turned around and he went, and I'm going to take away his name to protect him because it was a cunty thing to say. He goes, "Oh, well, as far as I'm concerned, they can all fuck off back to their country." And I looked at him and I thought, wow.
Are we still there?
Wow.
Are we still there in his mind?
Wow.
Yeah.
Are we?
Are
Wow.
we really that far back?
Wow. And I was stunned by the ignorance, the stupidity, the
Non-compassion.
Oh, just I was stunned by it because those thoughts have never crossed my mind. And if even if they have, when I was a teenager, you know, I would question and challenge the thought. Like, what does that mean? Like, what am I saying? Like, what do I actually believe? So I remember looking at him, going, "Wow." Do you think we'd get to the point where, let's say, for example, in 50 years' time, I don't know, saying the word fuck, you know, is now a terrible thing. You mustn't say fuck.
Yeah.
And we're walking around going, fuck this, fuck that, da, 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 da. Do you think it's possible that you just get to the point where you're like, I refuse to change. I'm now so pissed off at the world, I refuse to change. And everyone has to like it or lump it.
I think there is a point where you'll get to that with like your core values. Everyone's got their core values, so
Yep.
I reckon those you'll live by for most of your life. If you're wrong, some people can change, some people can't. But like, we like to learn, we like to discover
Yep.
new things.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm going to be wearing a tinfoil hat. Okay, I'm going. Did you not see that up there? Then did you not see it?
Well, talking about tinfoil hats. Now, gang, yesterday I introduced Kaz to a Netflix documentary or series called Ancient Apocalypse
Oh my God!
by Graham Hancock. It's a masterpiece. You have to watch it if you're interested in the origins of humans, if you're interested in history, archaeology, if you're interested in space, astronomy. It's all connected.
Everything, isn't it?
He paints an amazing theory of the last Younger Dryas. Now, the Younger Dryas is a term given for an apocalyptic moment in history. It happened 12,500 years ago, and he's basically trying to find out where all the civilizations went, because our earliest documentation of civilization, of writing and scriptures and books and paintings and that type of stuff, don't go past 12,500 years. So something happened then that wiped out, well, we just haven't found anything older than 12,500 years from humans, right, other than bones. So, and we know this is a factual event. It's called the Younger Dryas. It 100% happened. Now, the question is how and why did it happen, or how did it happen? And the series goes through the history of several civilizations, and it goes through religious scriptures and compares religions to one another, and
They all have similar stories.
they
don't
all
they?
have similar stories. They all talk about a great flood. They all have a similar Adam and Eve type story, a great flood that God sent down to punish mankind, and only a few survived and repopulated the earth. Now, there's loads and loads of things I want to talk about and go into. However, so I highly recommend you go and watch it.
Yeah,
Kat,
please do.
we're almost at the end. You haven't seen the end yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
What do you think so far?
To be honest, my mind is blown at the fact of, the buildings and the areas that they built and how they carved the stone and the way they pointed everything to the one particular star, which is Sirius, the dog star.
So what happened here, guys, is the civilizations over time have created what's called megaliths.
Mega.
Megaliths. Megaliths.
Yeah, megaliths.
Which are big, church type, temple
Worship
type,
areas,
worshipping
aren't they?
areas. These big buildings, huge buildings that would require hundreds, if not thousands, of
And they're
men
all
to build.
on top of mountains, which how they got.
So we'll come back to the
materials, yeah.
mountain thing back in a moment, because it's a really important point. But what was fascinating is that most of them, not all of them, but most of them pointed their orientation to the North Star, also known as Sirius.
Or the sun.
Or the sun, absolutely, particularly on the summer equinox or the winter equinox. Now, this proves that 12,500 years ago, humans were intelligent enough to study the stars.
Yeah.
They had enough mathematics to be able to orientate themselves,
Yeah.
the archaeology to build it based on that mathematics, all fascinating.
Insane.
Now, what happened is Sirius's location, the brightest star in the sky, also known as the North Star, Sirius's locations changed slightly over the years as the Earth wobbles over thousands of years as it does the orbits. So over the millennia, these civilizations have rebuilt these megaliths and to repoint at Sirius. And what's fascinating about that is not only how advanced they would have to be to do so, but my question is why?
Yeah, because Malta.
Why that star?
Was there 7 or 8 different ones?
Oh no, there were 15, 20 of them.
Oh,
Yeah, there were loads of them in Malta.
Yeah.
There's some in Turkey. There's some over in the Florida coast in America. There's some in
California.
Peru.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. And they all point to this star called Sirius, which is the brightest star in the sky. It's actually the brightest star because it's one of the closest ones. Proxima Centauri is the closest solar system with planets on it.
Yeah.
Whereas Sirius is a
Star,
dual star system, which means 2 stars are orbiting each other.
Which is why it twinkles with the funny colours off the.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you taught me something.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. So these stars are rotating. Now, interestingly, I've done a bit of research. There is what's known as a planet belt, was it?
It was a belt.
Planet belt at Sirius, which is basically either the start of a planet where all these pieces are basically been stretched out, if you like. So they're either going to come together to form a planet, or they were a planet and have been ripped apart.
Yeah, it's been blown apart.
So I want to add to Graham Hancock's theory,
Okay.
because in the program, spoiler alert, in the program, they theorize a meteorite came down
They did, yeah.
from the Sirius direction, and therefore they thought it was Sirius. A meteorite came down, hit North America when it was an ice age, just disintegrated loads of things, but also caused a massive global flood as the poles melted. Caused a massive global flood. The oceans rose by 400 meters almost overnight. Wiped out loads of civilizations, and the ones that survived were in the mountain regions.
They were, yeah.
And coincidentally, 12,000 years ago, religions originate from these mountainous areas.
Yes.
So the theory is a meteorite came down, there were loads of advanced civilizations, meteorite came down, melted the snow caps, flooded everything, and then eventually as the ice caps refroze, the water level came back down again a bit, but the people in the mountains survived.
And then they tell fables and stories of the gods coming down from the stars and teaching them all the technology to be able to rebuild.
So almost all these religions tell a story of a more advanced giant in some instances.
Well, there was even footsteps, wasn't
That's
there?
right.
Which were preserved as fossils.
That's right. They tell this story about how this advanced person that they refer to as a god came down, brought gifts, supplied information and knowledge to help rebuild, and then left.
Yeah.
Now, here's my question. Oh, sorry, and one last thing. They also attributed the meteorite and referred to it as a serpent snake.
Yes, they did.
And again, if you look at all the religions, including Adam and Eve, a serpent came down.
Everyone, isn't there?
That's meant to be linked to a meteorite coming down, and the idea of the meteorite with a tail looks somewhat like a snake.
Into the sky, yeah.
So here's my question. Here's my theory.
Okay.
Right, with all that information in mind, what if it wasn't a meteorite?
Okay.
What if it was a spaceship? I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. I'm going somewhere with it. What if it was a spaceship? right?
Yeah.
What if the spaceship came down, the flood was caused by something else, or the little green men caused the flood to restart because it was getting out of hand, restarted things, they came down, gave a load of information and knowledge to restart because they were responsible for it, and then left and planned to come back. But what if they came from Sirius?
See, now, I'm not really...
So these buildings are all being pointed towards home.
Yeah, I'm not really disagreeing with
It
that
makes you
theory,
think.
if I'm honest, because you've only got to look at the Egyptians.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, yesterday we were talking about the North Star, and its actual name is a dog star, isn't it?
Yep.
And if you look at the Egyptians and all their symbols, they have
Dogs and
gods.
cats and
No,
yeah.
but they have gods with dog heads and
Yeah.
human bodies
Yeah.
painted everywhere.
Yeah.
Carved
There's a connection
everywhere.
there as well.
There's a connection there as well. So I don't think that it's a non-possibility that may have happened.
Well, it's just that all these religious scriptures talk about a god came down to give them knowledge.
Yeah.
And usually they would come by sea, apparently.
Yep.
But that could have been changed with fables and stories over time. And it could have been maybe they landed on sea and
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I'm struggling to understand why they've invested so much time, resource, energy, and human lives into pointing these megastructures to that one star. And I refuse to believe it was because of it being the brightest.
That can't be the only
It
reason.
can't be the only reason. Otherwise, we would point them all to the sun.
Well, no, it would have meant that if that was the case, every home would have been built pointing to get the light in. If it was only a light issue,
Indeed, yeah,
every home would still be built that way.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
it can't be that. And why would you invest so much time into? Oh, let's point it to that star because it's the brightest. It just doesn't add up.
And also, the really fun part as well was the way they built the new buildings to point to the star. They were all round.
Yeah,
Okay. Now that takes some skill.
it takes some advanced knowledge.
Advanced knowledge,
Yeah.
skill to get the angles right and do all the rest of it. Because we just live in square boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just because that's the easiest way to make them, right?
of
If you were
course.
looking for structurally sound, strongest buildings, they're round.
Yeah.
They're circular. So, and most of them were built in this circular fashion, which is just mind-blowingly fascinating to me. But when you take into account that there's multiple religions from all areas of the world that report from an advanced giant bringing
God,
gifts
godlike,
and knowledge,
Yeah.
and there was a global flood,
Yeah.
and all these buildings point towards the one of the closest stars, and there was a meteorite that came down. Now, my question is this: does a meteorite look like a snake? No.
No.
But does the fumes from an engine trying to land, now does that all of a sudden look like a snake?
It's a
Yes.
possibility. It's a possibility.
So, guys, if you know Graham Hancock, tag him in it. Let me know if he's
We're gonna tag him
interested
anyway.
in my crazy theory. But fascinating program.
And he's dedicated his life to it.
Yeah, he's
as
been
well.
doing it for 50 years. Yeah.
You know, and the man has taken the criticism and he's gone, I'm still going with this. You
He's
know?
amazing.
He
Amazing.
is amazing. And my mind was blown. It still is. And it's just the precision. It's the way, where would they have had the technology to be able to move, like, where was it? Peru?
These stones weighed hundreds of tons.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they travelled, well, Egypt, for example, they travelled them 1,000
Yeah.
miles
Yeah.
from the quarry.
How?
How?
You're not rolling a rock that
How?
size on wood.
And if you are, it would have taken a lot longer than what they claimed it took.
Exactly. Was it 16 years?
So it wasn't a long period of time. They did it within a lifespan of a person. Now, I mean, one, how do you mine them? Because they're all cut to precision, like to a degree.
Yeah.
Incredible. So how are they cutting these massive stones? Two, how do they get them there?
Mm-hmm.
Three, why? And why make them? Because the Great Pyramids are all aligned to Sirius.
Yeah.
To the degree, to a 1 degree point.
Absolute point. But in Turkey,
Yep.
going from there to Turkey, it was all in bedrock. Now, bedrock, if you try and hand carve something out of bedrock, the tools and knowledge you would need to get any, and when I say they're precision, these are cut and then moved because they're nowhere near where they should be.
Guys, there's a photo on screen now. This is taken from episode 6 or 7 from the documentary, from the series, Ancient Apocalypse. What you'll see on screen now is a real image of the underground network of rooms and pathways they built in Turkey to survive something.
Yeah.
Now, it was either to hide from rebels, thieves, war, whatever it may be, or it was a bunker to survive the next apocalypse because they know what happened. And again, these are all in the mountains. So they survived. They saw the flood happen and the flood disappear. So maybe they were building something to protect themselves from it this time. Yeah. It also had its own fresh water supply because
quite a few did, didn't they?
They kept digging, they found this huge freshwater spring reservoir. So they had their own water supply, and they were cut off from the world above because they had these huge stones that they would wheel in front of the cave to make it watertight. Yeah. Why?
Exactly.
Why?
There's no reason why that I can see other than they knew what was coming. They had the knowledge, they knew what was coming. And what fascinated me about Turkey is that when, after everything had happened and they'd carved all these beautiful drawings out and, you know, the worship areas and everything, they then sought to fill them in so that they would be there for generations to find again.
They not only filled them in, they filled them in a nice way, in a slow, intentional way, so
it could be removed,
so it could be found later date as a, what's it called, time capsule. Yeah, it was a historical time capsule, and they carved these huge structures with information on them of where these star signs were, Scorpio and Libra and all that type of stuff, and then above where these constellations are gifts. Yeah, it's basically saying these gifts came from these areas
for you,
for us, for humankind. I don't know. It's remarkably fascinating.
It's left me with so many questions.
Indeed. If you like that bit, we coming up next is a interview with Andrew Hanson, gentleman on TikTok that I found who was talking lots and lots about the magnetic pole shift.
Yes.
Now, for those that don't know, the Earth's magnetic poles flip every so often. It last happened, coincidentally enough, 12,500 years ago. And it's now theorized it's meant to happen between 2030 and 2045, so in 10 years' time, right? Now, I've gone into the rabbit hole. We spoke to Andrew specifically because I'm fascinated by this topic. Coincidentally happened at the same time as this meteorite was meant to hit, or shortly after, or shortly before, whatever it may be. And we go on to talk about the magnetic poles thing. Now, what's really interesting about this is that when the magnetic poles flip, it causes the Earth to stop spinning. Not only does it stop spinning, the actual entire planet turns 90 degrees.
Oh my God, that's petrifying.
So we spin at 1,000 miles an hour on the Earth, right? So when it stops spinning, all the water and all the air is going to continue to spin at 1,000 miles per hour, meaning that anyone on land, their skin will be ripped apart from the winds traveling at 1,000 miles an hour. And then the waves, the sea, will still be moving at 1,000 miles an hour, but the Earth is stopped. Therefore, it will create a tsunami 2 miles high.
Oh my Christ.
Which will circulate the entire globe. And then at the same time, 3 days of darkness will occur. Well, particularly on one half. One half of the globe will see pure darkness in the vacuum of space for 3 days because it's not spinning anymore. So that side will freeze almost instantly. Within 1 hour, there'll be 7 foot of ice everywhere. That's how cold it will be. And then on the other half, it will be insanely hot because of the sun.
Oh, so which one would you choose?
So if you survive the tsunami, the heat, the cold, and then
the wind,
this happens for 6 days, and then on the 7th day, the Earth will go back to normal and start spinning again because the poles will flip back round. It sounds awfully like the Younger Dryas.
Yeah.
It sounds awfully, and this is all written in the scriptures, particularly in the Bible. It talks about in Exodus, it talks about how there were 3 days of darkness followed by a global flood, and on the 7th day, God rested.
Yeah.
and it brought everything back again. So we're talking about this in the interview. Make sure you go and check that out. That's coming up in a minute. But that then led me to have a theory on Mr. Musk.
Yes.
Now, if there's one man on the planet who's going to know a lot about the Earth and what's happening to it and the magnetic poles, it's going to be the guy that's launching rockets, right?
Mate, he's from Sirius.
And he's not only building the most insane rockets that have ever been built, which are, you know, autonomous and land vertically and all that type of jazz. He's built 100 of them.
Yeah.
And he's launching them at such a high rate. My question is this. Does he know?
Oh, mate.
Is his urgency not just to get to Mars, but because he knows the magnetic poles are going to flip in 10, 15 years' time, and therefore he's desperate to get off the Earth, even if it's just to stay in orbit while it all happens?
Yeah, might just spend 7 days out of Earth.
So that is my question. Like, why is he doing it so quickly? He's
intelligent enough to know.
He would be. He would have the inside information that we don't have. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, Dan, this is such bollocks. I'm going to turn off. It's rubbish. You know, put your hat back on. Tinfoil hat. But stop adding it up together, guys. They wouldn't tell the general public because it would be an apocalypse. Everyone would die.
Imagine the hysteria.
Everyone would die. Right, unless you lived in the mountains, because if you're higher than 2 miles up, you'll survive. Which is a lot of the mountain areas, the Rockies, the Alps, the Himalayas. They're all crazy high. So if you're in those areas, you may well survive. If you're in a cave, maybe, like Turkey.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, exactly. Right. So this is now all adding up. We're going to talk to Andrew about it, but I wanted to get your thoughts. Have you watched Ancient Apocalypse? Are you worried about it happening again? Do you know much about the magnetic poles? If you're interested in all of that, this interview is going to be banging for you. You're going to love it. But I want to know your theory as well. Is this all just crazy weed smoking talk? Or has this got an element of truth to it? Now, people at home might be thinking, yeah, but Dan, if you believed in it, you'd be doing stuff to survive. We are. We've started building our bunker. And I'm not joking. There's going to be content on this show that's becoming in the next few weeks. We've literally started putting plans in place to create a survival bunker, because having all the research I've seen is making me think there's something to it.
Mate, it's just
and I'd rather be prepared and nothing happen
than be
unprepared and then it all fucking happens.
Yeah. Then nothing else matters, does it? Do you know what I mean? That's happening.
So, guys, let us know what you think in the comments. Do you find this stuff remotely interesting? I know it's not necessarily comedy related, but I still find it fascinating. I think it'd be a great debate. And let us know what you think about the interview with Andrew.
Yeah. You know, do you think that this is something we're blowing out proportion? Have you got anything to add?
Oh, that's what she said.
Have you got anything to add that we've missed out? Is there a point that we haven't thought of yet?
Let us know.
Guys, please, in the comments below, let us know, because we like everyone.
Should we watch the interview with Andrew?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
So, mate, my name's Dan Wheeler.
And I'm Kaz.
And as you probably guessed, we run a podcast here in the UK, a comedy podcast. We're big fans of stand-up comedy, sitcoms, TV series and whatnot. And we try and have some fun. Touch on some topical topics and try and have a few laughs every day.
Yes.
One of our interests, I suppose is the word, is this whole magnetic pole shift type thing, with the whole conversation around it.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So we're very enthusiastic about it. We have a keen interest in it. I've been a huge physics and astrophysics geek, if you like, or enthusiast for since I was a wee lad. Yeah. So the whole topic fascinates me, and we came across your TikTok last week, week before, can't quite remember now. And the time flies, mate. Every day is merging into one now. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. And I saw that you had a keen interest in it, and I thought this man might be able to shed some knowledge on a few questions I have.
Yeah, I hope I can, honestly. Fair disclaimer, I'm not a scientist, of course,
Neither are we.
Neither are we.
No. We're just average people here just trying to find some answers,
Absolutely, mate.
Correct.
Absolutely. So, mate, tell me a bit about yourself. Kind of what's your background? What are your hobbies?
I'm a freelance artist, mostly tattooing. I also do a little graphic art on the sides. Typically in the winter, it kind of picks up more for that. And I also just finished my first kids book, and I'm working on a second one.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow.
Okay, so honestly, truth be told, I was trying to kind of advertise that originally with my TikTok channel. I thought I could maybe promote my book and my artwork, but I just feel a little bit more compelled to put this information out. I just feel like this is kind of more important. So I don't want to just shamelessly promote myself like that either. I just, I don't know what's more important, that possibly saving humanity. I think so.
I love it.
Absolutely. Just a bit.
I love.
Yeah,
I love the extreme thought of it all as well, because this could just be a batshit crazy conversation between two dudes and a chick. And we go around the houses, we don't solve anything, and the questions are left unanswered, and it could just be a waste of time. Or it could be clues to something catastrophic that's happening, and I'd rather go down that road and be wrong.
Yeah, me too.
Rather than go down the ignorant road.
It's almost like say nothing, do nothing. No, you can't. You've got to do something.
Indeed.
Yeah, I would rather be prepared than not prepared. And my volume is up. Okay, never mind. Even if it doesn't end up happening being a nothing burger, I mean, at the very least, it's a good option to trying to get out of the WEF and the 15-minute cities and this whole plan that they have for us. At the very least, it's a way to kind of combat that. At the very minimum, I look at it. So even if I end up being wrong, hey, if I'm out somewhere rural when this whole thing goes down, at least I'm better off, I guess, Yeah.
Well, should we give a brief explanation to what we're talking about for people that watch this back? So, So 2 seconds, mate. So this is pre-recorded. So the Zoom call is recorded. I'm also recording my screen, and I've got a camera here as well. So we'll chop it up into a nice flow of the podcast, but it's not live. So if there's anything that you want taken out, if there's anything that you didn't think came across well, or that wasn't right, or that you wanted to change, just let me know at any point, mate, and we can just stop and start. And then we'll edit it all together so it's nice and seamless and smooth. So there's loads of free will. And also just to let you know that we won't put the podcast episode out until you've approved it. So, so it's a two-way thing. I want there to be trust on both sides here.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate that. I wasn't really too worried about it, though. I kind of watched some of your material. I was like, he's not going to... I think you're interested in this subject. I got good faith in you. So
awesome, man.
You seem like a genuine good person so far.
Stop it.
You'll make him blush. You'll make him blush.
Stop it. But you're right, I am.
I'm not going to lie to you, he is.
So, mate, for those that are watching at home that know nothing about the topic, break it down for me. We have Earth's magnetic poles. We have a North Pole and a South Pole. Every so often they flip round and cause chaos. Break it down for me in kind of a little bit more detail than that.
Okay. Well, so the Earth goes through a disaster cycle, and it's pretty much like clockwork. We know this from geologic record. We know this from fossil record. We know that there's been at least 6 mass extinctions in the past. They don't really understand fully a lot of the reasons why, but they do have a lot of hypotheses as to why we face these mass extinctions. There is a study that I pulled up just the other day. It was from Stanford, and they had gone back to these cave paintings, and they were guessed to be about 42,000 years old. The last time we had what was known as a geomatic excursion, which is a lot like a flip, but it's a lot shorter, so they're harder to detect in the strata of magnetic flow, basically, in the rocks. It's harder to tell because it happens basically 100 years it takes to kind of do this flip, whereas a full-on magnetic flip takes around 1,000 years to complete.
Wow,
so it's a lot easier to detect, right? Because you're going to have a lot more magna flow, then you can pick up the magnetite and sense the direction that the poles were facing when it was laid down and so forth. So we know, though, through, like I said, through geologic record, that these destructions, flooding, and that kind of thing happens pretty regularly. Like I'd say on average about every 6,000 years.
Wow.
This is pretty regularly.
That is really regularly. And when we say a flood, do we mean a global cataclysm, as Graham Hancock would word it?
Yes, we're talking floods that Hollywood couldn't recreate in a CGI movie set. I mean, we're talking 3 to 4 miles high tsunamis.
Oh my Christ!
Wow.
I heard 2 miles, but could they really be 4-mile high tsunamis?
I can. It really just depends on the volume of water at the speed at which all this starts moving. The other part of it too is it's not just the water that comes sloshing over when the planet does this; it's the wind as well, because we constantly have winds blowing and currents and things like that. So when it shifts, that wind keeps going too. So we've got 1,000-mile-an-hour winds that are just going to blast everything out of
So for those watching at home, I have a little fidget spinner here. So if I was to spin this, and this is the Earth spinning on its axis, and we have the North Pole here and the South Pole here. Essentially what we're saying is every 6,000 years, is that what we're saying? This magnetic pole flips.
It's a hypothesis, right? They do have some physical, they have some constants to kind of explain the wobble. They have this thing called the Chandler wobble, which they can observe on Mars as well. But then I read another paper that kind of suggests that the reason for the wobble on the pole in the first place was due to seismic activity, where the displacement of weight kind of throws that wobble off.
Okay.
In combination with the weight of the ice, I guess. But it didn't really make it. To me, it seemed like they didn't really understand the mechanism fully to why that was doing that. That was just one explanation. They do know that the spin of the Earth is what creates our magnetosphere. So it's called a dynamo effect. So you have like the inner core that's basically like it's charged, really charged. The outside spins in the opposite direction of the inside core, and through that liquid medium, that creates our magnetic field, basically.
So it's essentially liquid metal rubbing against liquid metal at different temperatures, therefore different magnetic strengths, creating a charge, and that creates the Earth's magnetic poles, essentially.
Yeah. Yes. So basically, they don't. I couldn't get the answer whether or not one was dependent on the other. So if the speed of the Earth created a stronger, if the Earth is spinning faster, does that create more of a stronger magnetic field if they're related, or is the spinning of the inside of the core related? I couldn't really figure that out, but they just know that that's basically how it's created.
And we know also that in recent publications that the core has recently stopped spinning.
Yeah, and supposedly that happens every 70 years, I was reading as well, too. But again, I don't fully understand that. That could be a nothing burger. That could also be something they're just lying to us about. It could be either or. It could be like they're just, it's nothing, don't worry about it, and just trying to hush it because
in my crazy head
of the coming,
In my crazy head, I connected the dots to the magnetic, the iron essentially moving around did exactly what you say, is create the magnetic field, so to speak. And then if the core is stopping, that could be a trigger for it flipping, could it not?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
That's what I thought, wasn't it?
So
it could be a sign of it. And sorry, what's that?
No, forgive me, mate. There's a small delay, so I don't want it to come across as I'm always over talking you, because I thought there was a natural conclusion. But if we go back to the Earth spinning model, essentially what we're suggesting is with the magnetic poles, at some point, which we'll come on to in a moment, the spinning stops, the Earth turns on its side, and then a week later it all kicks up again. Is that essentially is that right or is that wrong?
Yeah, it's really hypothetical, and I don't want people to think that this is definitely what we're set on. But it's one option. I think that like I said, there's a couple reasons for the wobble and the tilt, but the reason why it would completely flip over, I really don't know. But in models, they were able to get inertia to spin the pole out towards the equator, and then it snapped back up and get back into place. Right, and then there's also another effect I was telling you about, the tennis racket effect.
That's right.
The Benizakivov, I probably butchered his name. It's basically like with a tennis racket, you have one axis which would be your handle, and then you have the two other axes which would be the sides of your paddle. Mm-hmm. So if you were to flip it, if you notice, it pretty much no matter what you do, it kind of does a side flip as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You see people on skateboards kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So without gravity, if you were to do this in space, you were to spin, say, a 3-axis object, it'll spin for so many spins, but one slight disturbance will flip the second axis on its side. And this is like in space, basically they could demonstrate this.
Now, I've got a little clip here, my friend. So is this the one you are referring to?
Yes, that's the one I'm talking about.
So what we'll notice here, guys, what we're looking at here, if I go to the video, I can make it a bit bigger. That's what she said. So here we have just a tool of some kind. I think it is an Allen key or something. And they're spinning it in space. And there's a phenomenon that Andrew just mentioned, which I won't even attempt to try and repeat. Does this inertia flip completely, what it seems like, out of the ordinary?
Yeah.
It just does it by itself.
Wow.
Like every so many rotations, a slight disturbance on the second axis causes it to flip over. And
I mean,
that
it's
disturbance
fascinating.
could be,
Yeah.
I mean, right.
I mean that's remarkable. It would do that. It makes no logical sense in my mind to why. And where's it getting the energy to do that? Is it purely inertia?
It has to be. That's the only thing I can think of. Just rotational mass. That's it. You know.
Oh wow! I mean, it's quite beautiful as well. But essentially, what we're saying here is that rotation in space can do some funky things with inertia and movement, and there's a potential that if the magnetic poles flip, then it might do some funky stuff to the actual planet.
I think so, and I think they're related. I do think that the actual rotation of the planet flipping and the poles, I think, are related. I mean, a lot of the argument I got. So I also should mention that video, the second one I posted, I made quite a lot of mistakes, and I've done quite a bit of research since then. So now I'm okay with being wrong. I'm hoping to be wrong. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Cool.
Please prove me wrong.
So I'm just saying it's hypothetical. These things can be recreated in space and in models. They took that same sort of physical model in a computer, and recreated with the gravity and they demonstrated that even in a computer model that the Earth could flip over after so many rotations due to that same gravitational effect that it can be demonstrated.
Wow.
So the inertia from that is one hypothetical way it could happen. From the inertia of the planet itself, I don't know. The other thing is the poles shedding off. That's kind of, it seems like it would be independent, but it doesn't seem to be. That's the thing. It seems to be related to all this because, like they even say that we're spinning faster, but at the same time, it seems like, and then we hear about the core shifting directions, and at the same time, you're hearing that the poles are getting weaker and weaker exponentially every year. So it seems like they're related. They have to be.
Well, there's such huge. The Earth is such a huge object. I mean, the scale of the Earth, I don't think people understand or can grasp. I don't think it's possible. It's so fucking massive. It's so massive. And so when you see these huge changes, it just makes sense that they seem to be related because what else is causing it?
It just seems really coincidental, doesn't it?
Very coincidental.
Yeah,
really coincidental. So, mate, what are the other possibilities that could happen when the poles shift? Because I think we should make that clear. It's not a case of if the poles are going to shift. It's a case of they're going to. It's when will it happen?
Well, coincidentally, you can go back. Have you ever heard of Anno Mundi? It's a time. It's like a calendar that the Jewish people use. Year 1 marked the flood. So if you fast forward, we're almost close to 6,000 years. So
was that year 1 after the flood or before it?
I think like year 0 would be the flood, and then year 1 would be after it.
A year after, got it.
Yeah.
And by that calendar, so what were you saying about that calendar?
Their prediction is that it would be before the 6,000th year.
And then how old is that calendar?
Well, I mean, let's look it up.
5,999 years old.
and half a day.
Yeah, something like that. Let's hope that. I think it's like 5,700, I think, around there. Last time I checked.
Oh, fuck, so quite soon.
Yeah, we are. It's been just under 6,000 years since the last flood, and then there's the other thing too. There's possibility of that happening. The planet flipping on 90 degrees. We get new North Pole, new South Pole, and what happens during that, coincidentally, and there's even science on this too. Whenever there's a collapse of ice like that, you have extreme precipitation. It has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
The water gets evaporated. It goes somewhere, and it turns into a jet stream. And if you remember in Noah's Ark, in the story, they said it rained for 40 days and 40 nights.
Yeah.
Yep.
It did.
So I'm not here to say that the Bible is 100% accurate. I'm just saying I think that there's more to be said with these religious doctrine, and I could even bring up stuff from the Quran and the Torah to kind of all correlate all this together too.
Yes.
So
That's what I mean. So
that, didn't we?
So these are essentially religious scriptures that are dotted around all over the world, reporting the same
thing.
the same events at the same time, essentially.
Yeah.
yes, and not only that, but also keeping track, knowing when the next disaster is going to happen.
And they did
There's a
that
lot of-
astronomically. Am I right in thinking with the star signs?
They kept track of really long amounts of time, like 6,000 years at a time. They're able to. I mean, they're doing it right now.
Wow.
Incredible.
So this is reminding me of Ancient Apocalypse, the Graham Hancock documentary on Netflix, which I thought was
Love it.
fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. Me
We
too,
loved
mate.
it, didn't we?
Kaz has just watched it. We watched it last night, and you were blown away by it, weren't you?
we did the whole thing. All in one go.
Binged it in one day.
Binged it. I was like blown away completely.
And in there they talk about this tablet which has got it carved into the rock where the certain star signs were in certain locations, and they zoomed back in time to when these constellations were in the configuration of this tablet. They could work out when the asteroid hit the Earth, etc., etc. Am I right in thinking that the asteroid hypothesis for that apocalypse essentially is that pretty cemented? Is that pretty theorized? Is that cemented theory, or is it just a crazy theory?
No, and the truth is most profound discoveries or moving forward with a certain topic, it usually comes from someone who's completely an outsider. So in that regard, I do totally understand what he's saying about that, because he's right about that too. He is just a journalist, but I mean, just a journalist, right? I mean,
investigator.
we're all just right. We
Yeah.
are all
50 years of
investigative journalists
journalism.
ourselves
Yeah.
too.
I suppose so.
You know, right?
True.
And that's what we're doing right now, technically.
Yeah.
So I think that I think
I should claim that on my taxes. Second employment.
Yeah.
Investigative journalism. Maybe there's some tax
Self-employed.
rebates I can
I
get.
think so.
Yeah, his hypothesis of the meteorite impact is definitely a possibility. The only issue I have with it seems that the line of the ash that fell down seems to be uniform across the planet. Now, me personally, it would seem to me that it would be more dispersed in that area wherever it hit. There would be more preponderance of that type of ash in that area, and it would kind of disperse outward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not be a
I mean,
solid
because if
line.
it was if it was dispersed evenly, it would seem like something the sun did. That's why I think that maybe it might not be.
Now, you've mentioned this on our WhatsApp exchanges prior to this Zoom call. Now, this is very interesting because I hadn't heard much about this. Now, I'm aware of solar flares. For people that are watching at home, I know we're darting all over the place here. We'll try and get back to the magnetic poles, but I feel it's all related. But it's certainly related to the poles. I'm aware of solar flares. I'm aware of the plasma that can be ejected from these at these astronomical amounts of plasma, and the sheer scale of them are just beyond comprehension. They're huge. And it's our magnetic poles that protect us from that to some degree.
Yeah.
And if the poles are in their process of flipping or moving, they're currently weaker than they have been. Is that right?
Yes, they are. They are currently, and you can go online and look up this data. We have plenty of, even from governmental websites, that the magnetic pole has been weakening for quite some time, but the last few years it seems to be accelerating.
But how fast are we talking, mate? Are we talking a small acceleration, like it's gone downhill a little bit, or is it decided to jump off the cliff and just bottom out?
Current projections put it at 2030 to 2045.
That's when it's
Completely
going to do
shut
something.
It's probably going to completely shut off, not completely shut off, but maybe weaken to the point to where, I mean, it's going to let in a lot more of the sun's energy, and there'll be a lot more cases of skin cancer. But coincidentally, at the same time, we're coming into a solar minimum too.
Oh,
So
okay.
we got that going for us.
That's
yeah.
handy. That's handy. Because the last, am I right, is it the Carrington event? Was that it?
That was 1859. Yeah,
That's it. Man, you're
Carrington
good.
event.
Yeah,
He
what?
is, isn't he?
Yeah, mate. I'm trying to test you, and you're passing with flying
Every
colours.
single bit of it.
So tell me more about that, mate. Because that was a solar flare, was it not?
Yeah, they think it was a class X100. I think last time I read, we've seen close to that. not quite. And from X100, basically, so what happened was across the planet, all the telegraph wires caught fire. And, we weren't locked into the grid like we are now on such a huge grid system that we have now. And so thankfully, it didn't really do much. We were already in the 1800s when it happened. It wasn't like it knocked us back any. And, if something like that were to happen now, it would be traumatic. And like you said, it's the weakening magnetic field. We get a solar flare, it could hypothetically it would knock us back 100 years because immediately no power.
Yeah.
It would be the equivalent to an EMP.
Yeah.
Essentially, what people know what that is,
Absolutely.
It would be really, it could just be catastrophic. It would have nothing.
Yeah,
Because nothing works
yeah,
at that grade.
Well, we had a power cut here, Andrew, last year, right? And I've been talking about it for months because it was
horrific.
one of the worst experiences I've been through, and I don't say that lightly because I've been through some bullshit.
We had to talk to each other for like 2 days. It was horrible.
We had a 4-day power cut last winter. There was a storm and it knocked over one of the main power lines, and 4 days without power. But some people might be thinking, "Oh, that's not that bad." But when you live in an electric house where your job is, I can't do my job without electricity, right? I need my phone for my job, and your phone needs a charge. The fridge freezers, the oven. We have an electric oven. The heating. Like there was nothing for 4 days, and it really made me think: if there's some form of catastrophe where the grid goes down, there is going to be fucking chaos, mate. Yeah. Absolute chaos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, when I go on and I see commercials for this too, and actually I saw one recently the other day, and they said that specifically that our grid is protected against solar flares, and I just was like, no, not if there's a big enough one. I don't think so. There's no stopping that. No, and especially with the weakening magnetic field.
But how did they test
like I said,
it?
coincidentally,
we're
coming into a grand solar minimum as well. So if you look at lately it's been the tops of the grand solar maximums are 11-year cycles. If you look, they've been kind of dwindling. And so I think it starts at about 2030 is when we go into the grand solar minimum.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's reassuring.
Yeah. So even if, let's say, the everything doesn't happen that we're talking about, at the very least, we've got all these people on the planet, and we're not going to have the natural ability to grow as much food because the sun's not as active.
Yeah.
There's no way around that. It's going to cool the planet. There's no way around that. So there is going to be catastrophe either way we look at this. I'm kind of getting at that too. So even if we're wrong about the pole flip, I think there's bad things coming no matter what.
Yeah, no, indeed. I mean, just the people talking about the war right now. I mean, it's all about to kick off with Russia and Ukraine. I don't follow that too much, but every time I do hear people talking about it, they seem to be quite fearful of it developing into something significant. And then I'm hearing there's going to be a war with China. Although apparently we've been saying that for 50 years or something. So I don't really listen too much. What's your take on it?
Well, I did some digging into the Quran and the Bible and the Torah as far as end times prophecy. And I looked into this and I thought, I wonder what they say about it. Because, obviously they said a couple of things that are pretty right at this point, in my opinion. And so maybe let's see what else they predicted. And so both the Bible and the Quran quoted the Battle of Gog and Magog. But it gets interesting because the Quran mentions that the Euphrates will expose something that will cause men to go to war over it. That's all it says.
Okay.
Right? So the Bible says the Euphrates River will dry up and then an army from the east will come across and attack. The Battle of Gog and Magog is supposed to be basically Jerusalem versus the guys I was just talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Sorry, the Muslims. Basically, like the country of Iran, or, those countries over there, the Middle Eastern sort of, I don't want to call them terrorists, but, that area,
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's basically, but from what I also understand, Gog and Magog is supposed to be a battle of giants. So,
giants again.
I mean, we've never really seen a giant, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. And I just want to stick to like the science and the facts on this, and not just get into some crazy conspiracy. But
well, I kind of want to go. Can we just look at the entrance of that rabbit hole for a moment? Because Graham Hancock's Ancient Apocalypse, he talked about how a lot of these religions were referring to a giant from a distant land that would come and offer gifts and knowledge. And there were several of these repetitions of a giant. These giants that once lived.
Yep.
And I can't help but think they talk about an ark. They talk about these tablets. I mean, their description of things that we know as a tablet and we know as an ark, a ship. The descriptions are fantastic. So the descriptions of the giants. I mean, what the fuck is going on there? That can't be mythological, surely.
No, well, and you know the funny thing is that the Euphrates River is drying up. So the Bible got it right, and they don't know why it's drying up.
Have they given a time frame on the Bible? Does it give a time frame? Does it say 2020?
It's no, they just say nobody will know the time and place the return of Jesus, you know, and basically when the actual final cataclysm actually comes, which I think the crescendo is going to be about 2046 from what I've gathered.
Okay.
Is the actual apocalypse isn't going to be until about 2046 when I think the sun is going to, I think it's going to micronova.
What's a micronova?
So a micronova is, for a long time, scientists didn't think they even existed. It's basically, you know, over time, dust kind of collects on the outside of the sun. And I guess what happens is over time, that collection...
Bit of skin from my foot
eventually
just
it gets
sitting on the
too
sun.
much for the sun darkens, and then it just kaboom, blows up, and it's like an X1000 solar flare, basically, the planet gets.
Right, okay. So obviously a supernova is when the sun expands to such a point, and then it will either contract or just explode or whatnot and go down into a neutron star. So a micronova is a mini version of that. Does it just expand a bit and then come back down, or is it just an injection of mass?
It's just an injection of mass, as far as I know.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and a lot, and they have a lot of evidence of this happening. On the moon, they found microbeads of glass.
Okay.
And some of the glass can be explained from meteorite strikes because the heat it takes to create this type of glass. But they found some glass, it's this reddish glass, that contained elements such as like aluminum-26. Now, the inherent temperature you'd need to create aluminum-26, we wouldn't have a moon left if that was the case, because the meteorite would be so large and so huge, the explosion would be so powerful and so hot to create that. The only logical explanation would be that the sun basically micronovaed and fried the surface of the sun. Surface of the moon, excuse me.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. What, and then dumped that aluminum-26 down on Earth?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, in Earth, it kind of does something similar. It actually, that same energy creates carbon-14, actually, which is coincidentally why they can't date things that well, because carbon-14 is created when we have, say, solar flare or something.
Interesting. Now, forgive me, Andrew. My Zoom is telling me I need to upgrade because I've only got 10 minutes left. However, I have already upgraded. So I think I might...
Oh, okay. How do you upgrade?
I might. I've already done it, but I didn't log out of my Zoom and log back in. So I'll close this down. I'll send you back the link and we'll just kick back up when we started. 2 seconds, mate. Hey, sorry about that.
All right, we're back.
We're back. We're back. So forgive me. We were talking about the micronova. What does the T-shirt say? It's for me.
Oh, it says, okay, so a lot of times, this is the joke behind this shirt. So a lot of times people come in wanting something small tattooed on their wrist, let's say, and they want it upside down facing them. This is a diagram of why you don't do that.
That's brilliant.
Idiots.
Yeah. It's great because nobody gets it unless you're in the business.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. What's the most ridiculous tattoo you've come across?
Most times nowadays it's hard to. I just forget them.
No,
I just throw them in
there's
the
just
bag.
so many of them.
Yeah, and 9 times out of 10, I'm really good at talking them out of it. If it's really that bad, I can just say, "Hey,
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Have you ever had to do one where they were completely adamant?
Oh yeah, I just do it, make the money, because they'll just go somewhere else nowadays. There's too many tattoo shops.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, mate, going back to the micronova, I've got a favourite fact that I'd like to share. You're going to know this anyway, but I'll share it with Kaz. It's my favourite astronomy fact of all time. This is when someone says, "Give me a fact about space," I give them this fact. Right? The elements: gold, silver, iron, copper, and magnesium.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, every element is made in the sun, but those 5 in particular that are found commonly on Earth. You might have gold on a ring, or you might have copper piping in your house for the radiator or whatnot. Those are all elements made inside of the sun.
Yeah.
And when the sun explodes, it dumps those metals through meteorites down onto the Earth. But the most fascinating one is iron.
Right, okay.
So iron is made in the core of the sun. And it's also found in your blood. So without iron, we wouldn't be alive. And more specifically, without the sun, we wouldn't be alive, because it's literally the metal of iron that can only be produced from stars, and eventually we go back into that star, and the cycle continues.
So we really are made of stars.
We're made of stars.
Do you know, that's a beautiful thought.
It's better than religion, in my opinion.
That's such a beautiful...
That's-
I love
That's beautiful.
that.
I love it.
I find more comfort in that than I do with a god. Does that make sense?
Completely.
If I know I'm going to go
yeah.
back into a star, I think that's incredible.
I mean, that's the ultimate life cycle.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
You know, I wanted to be buried as a tree when I die. I was thinking of one of those pods where you
They're
Yes.
fruit tree.
great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which
You know,
way-
I want to feed people when I'm gone.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that, mate. What tree would you have?
Maybe a mango or a pear tree.
Nice, nice. So people
Yeah.
literally would be eating your fruit.
Yes.
It's quite sexual. I like it.
You would. Literally eating your peach.
Well, I mean, it's not a banana tree.
I like the idea. Oh, very good, very good. I like
It's kind
the.
of cold for that out here anyway. So.
It's been snowing here, mate. I know. I saw on your TikTok, I think it was, that it's snowing there as well. How deep is
Yeah,
it?
we just got. Well, today it's about 40 degrees. Yeah, there's still a lot of snow. There's a good 4 or 5 feet on the ground out here still.
Oh, you guys get proper snow. Yeah,
Ours is about 2
yeah,
inches.
if that. Yeah, if
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It was more
Little bit
sludge
of
this
ice
morning.
Yeah, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Do you do ice baths out of interest?
Do you do what? I'm sorry.
Ice baths.
I take a cold shower at night.
Oh,
Just
okay.
That's my version of it, but I could easily just jump out in the snow or something.
That's
Yeah.
why I asked. Yeah, you look like you like the outside. Would that be a correct assessment?
Yes. I do spend a lot of time outside. I've always had this affinity for like remembering plant names and stuff, and so when I was in college, I did learn a lot of the Latin names and like functions and like the medicinal plants, and I just naturally, I kind of have this thing every time I go for a hike or a bike ride or something, I find an edible plant
I love
or
that.
medicinal.
Are you a Paul Stamets fan?
A what fan?
A Paul Stamets, the microbiologist of fungi. Paul Stamets. Do you know him?
Yes. I know you're talking about. He did a podcast with Joe Rogan.
That's
as well,
right.
and-
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Paul Stamets.
Stamets.
I'm a
Forgive
huge.
me. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I am a mushroom nerd as well. Too. not the kind where, not where I'm lost for 8 hours. Not that kind.
Sure.
Me and my wife actually go out a lot during the spring and in the fall. Was mainly when the seasons are out here for our mushrooms, and we find quite a bit. And I've kind of learned how to farm them a little bit. So
Wow.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, I think I'd like to have another separate conversation with you about psychedelics. I think we'd get on well there as well. So, going back to the solar flares, my man. So the sun does a micronova, scorches the surface of the Earth. Essentially, would that be classified as a reset as well? Would it literally just fry everything?
yeah, it would fry everything. Well, anything facing the sun, essentially.
Oh, I see.
And I think.
Right, so
I
we
think
got
on
a
the opposite
50-50
side, you might be
chance.
okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
but-
would make sense.
But the thing with solar flares, it's not so much like a gunshot as it is a continuous stream after it happens. So, like, what happens with solar flares, too, the initial burst is like 8 minutes it takes to get to us.
Yep.
But then for the next 17 to 18 hours, you're going to have that high influx of high energy proton storm from that.
I see. And of course, it's not just the frying. The heating up will melt the polar caps, which will cause a massive flood.
I'd imagine it would definitely be pretty quick. I don't think that this slow gradual change that they're talking about, because if these poles realign and the planet shifts, I mean, immediately it's cold in these new places and warmer where the poles are at. So immediately you're going to have a huge change in the jet streams and everything. So, I mean, like I said, all hypothetical we're talking about. I would imagine, like it said in Noah's Ark, that it probably is going to rain across the planet, rain and snow for 40 days and 40 nights.
But do you not think they're giving us the information, telling us it's going to be a slow process to keep us calm?
Yeah. But I think they're definitely lying to us about the actual driver of climate change. I don't get me wrong. I don't think that human species are the greatest. I mean, we're litterers. We mine everywhere. We destroy the planet. And I'm not a fan of any of that. But we're not as bad as they say we are. And that's kind of where I'm getting at. I think that the carbon dioxide myth, I think they're using that because when I started thinking about it, I think that they found a way that's unavoidable for every human on the planet. There's no way any activity that you do requires some sort of carbon dioxide to be produced. It doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
Wearing a t-shirt, wearing any kind of electronics, it requires the mining, the manufacturing process. So just about everything you do, even like using the bathroom, produces carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
So there's no way out of it. And if they can tax everybody on that, it's a means for them to extract all the last resources from all of us.
Also a distraction.
Yeah.
It's a wealth extraction, and I think that's all it really is. And I think it took a couple generations of brainwashing and really pushing it out in the school. And I hate to say it, but every one of their models that they said in the 90s, we're not going to have snow by 2010, none of them ever were even close.
Yeah.
Every one of their models were completely wrong. They've never been able to predict anything. And when you start thinking about a change in the polar vortex, where the poles go, and a change in the entire weather system, that begins to make a lot more sense. And it would happen, and they're also putting an urgency on it for 2030. AOC said, we only got like 12 years left. And she said that in 2008. A lot of these guys are really trying to get their plans for 2030.
Interesting.
So when you think about the poles shutting off by 2030 and everything in combination, it starts to make more sense. You go, that makes a lot more sense. They're herding us into these cities. I'm not 100% sure why, but I think it's the depopulation. And I think it's to take the weakest of us, the most docile, and basically push us into caves while we ride this thing out, and maybe get us down to like 500 million across the planet. I don't know. It's really, I know, because I'm trying to think, what would their motives be other than just extracting resources? There's also this AI revolution coming in where they don't necessarily need us anymore either. And that's the real scary part to me.
That's the scary bit,
When
isn't it?
when ChatGPT launched a couple of months ago, it blew my fucking mind, mate. I couldn't believe how, and that's what they're showing us. That's the version that they're happy to show us. Do you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck are they building in the background? I mean, what has Elon Musk got? I mean, he's making a brain chip. He's literally making a brain chip. It's remarkable. You've seen the little monkey playing it with its mind. It's like, what the fuck is going on? We're RoboCop is going to be real, and it's soon. He just launched.
It's already real. We just don't know it's there yet.
He just launched his invention event where the robots are building each other.
Yeah.
I showed you that.
Yeah. Incredible.
Have you seen that one yet, Andrew?
I haven't seen that, but that's really scary.
Oh, mate,
Yeah.
let me show you that.
It's petrifying.
That's scary.
Let me show you that. These bots are now so advanced.
But I think that they're kind of herding us into a sort of a funnel, kind of a funnel where it's going to be a population reduction no matter what. When you start confining people into close spaces like that, time and time again, study shows that people are going to get more sick.
Yeah.
And then they're talking about not feeding us meat, so we're not going to be as healthy with being in these cities.
Which makes no sense.
So it's the combination of that. And I made a video too on TikTok, and I compared it to the ghettos of World War II.
Wow.
And it seems very similar, in my opinion. It seems like the next step in this social credit score thing too.
Are you familiar with how cereal was invented?
No, I'm not.
Cornflakes. There was Mr. Kellogg's. I forget his first name. He was a devout Christian, and I might mess a couple of the specific details up, but the general story is correct. Again, you can research this. He was a devout Christian or Catholic and an extremist, and he was annoyed and angered that adolescents were masturbating, having sex, and drinking, essentially. So he created a breakfast that was void of all nutrients to hormonally sabotage adolescents to make their libido decrease, to stop this from happening. So when you then look at Kellogg's cornflakes or cereals in general, they've had all their nutrition taken out of it. I did 12 years. I'm a nutritional coach by trade, so I'm very familiar with that world. And if you look at a cereal, everything's removed. The fiber's removed, the nutrients are removed, the salts are removed. They try and claim to put vitamins back in afterwards, but they're not the same. They're not absorbed at the same rate or whatnot. So what our children are literally eating in their formative growth years is pure sugar. I mean, it's quite literally pure sugar. Now, I'm not one of those sugar demonizing, sugar's going to give you cancer, one of those guys. But I do know that if you were to eat nothing but sugar, you won't last very long. You need vitamins, minerals, fiber, micronutrients. And Mr. Kellogg's was a crazy, crazy man who tried to do some crazy things, and he was successful.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's tied to the eugenics movement back then, because it seems like it'd be roughly the same time period too. I wonder if they were in the same groups of people. And,
eugenics? What was that? What was that?
I wonder if that guy somehow knew people tied to the eugenics program, or he, if he spent any time with them, or if he knew.
I haven't heard of the eugenics program. What's that?
So early in American history, well, not really early, I guess about the 20s and 30s, right before World War II, the common science was extremely racist. Okay, we'll just say it like that. The doctors at the time, some of these were German doctors too, were saying that the blacks were an inferior race based on their skull shape and all this nonsense. And believe it or not, that's where the word retard came from, believe it or not. And that was actually considered the politically correct word of the day too. So they would have terms like imbecile, moron, retard, and that's where all these words came from.
Horrific.
Basically just to refer to these other races. That's all it was. And so the eugenics program ended up becoming this perverted, there was this lady involved in it, Margaret Sanger. It was a known eugenicist and racist, and she's the person that started our healthcare facility, Planned Parenthood, which is where they do abortions.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they're placed in low financial neighborhoods intentionally. There's plenty of evidence of that. And she's on camera said that she would like to eliminate the black race and just insanity.
My Christ. Andrew, mate, forgive me. I need to use the little boys' room. Do you mind if we put a quick pause on this? I will be.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna go.
I will be back in a moment. Thank you, mate.
Bring what you got. We're going all the way to the top.
I have a complaint to make. I have a complaint to make. I have a complaint to make. Tim the Tat Man.
Oh, not Timmy again.
Tim the fucking Tat Man. Right, mate. I'm your biggest fan. Right? I'm your biggest fan. I'm going to watch your content no matter what. But I'm getting really annoyed with the ranked play bullshit. Right? All he's doing is playing multiplayer. I'm fucking sick of it.
Yes.
It's not engaging. It's not funny. It's not entertaining. It's him playing multiplayer and dying every 3 seconds. I don't like it. I don't want to watch it anymore, Tim. Go back to Warzone, please, with Nick, with Swag, with Cloaksy. I just want to see you guys, you four, maybe bring in Teep, maybe bring in Huskers, maybe bring in Symphony. But for the most part, it's you four. I want to see 3 videos a day. I want to see just standard gameplay. If you could do a nuke, do a nuke.
What's a nuke?
You know when they get a nuke, you've got to win 5 games in a row, and then you can try and get a nuke, and everyone's trying to beat you. It's very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't know that one.
I'm just sick of watching multiplayer. It's dead, dead, dead. I mean, if I wanted that, I'd play it myself.
And he would.
Do you know what the weird thing is, right?
Well.
I don't play Warzone anymore. I haven't played it for almost a year. It's been almost a year. Last summer's when I played it.
Yes.
I just prefer watching other people play it.
You love watching Timmy play.
I love watching Timmy play Warzone. I fucking hate watching Timmy playing ranked play. Or fucking Fortnite. Get rid of that shit as well.
Right.
Haven't played Fortnite. I'm too old for Fortnite. You're fucking 31, Tim. Stop playing Fortnite.
Tim.
And I want to see more of your little boy. He's cute.
Tim. Now listen. Just me and you in the room. Shh. Okay. Calm down. I cannot cope with any more of this. Okay? You need to sort your shit out. and you need to sort it out quick. Because I can't deal with this any longer. You are making my life hell. Went too far. Love you, Tim.
Love you, Timmy. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, Kevin. We got a banger for you today, baby. See?
Where was Kevin? You went all over there.
I know, but he usually points to his right.
Does,
Because I'm a weird super fan. I've just had enough of the ranked play, mate. Can we just go back to Warzone, please?
Can we just go back to the way it was?
I'm quite enjoying the finals, the new game you're playing. That's all right. It's not bad. But again, they need a BR version of that.
If I'm honest, I've stopped watching Timmy now.
Yeah, well, it's just. I like my 3 doses of Timmy every day, right? Tim the Tap Man, more Tim the Tap Man, and Tim the Tap Man 2. A video a day isn't a sample. You could do more, mate. You could be doing a lot more, mate. You could be doing 2 videos on those channels a day, 6 videos a day for sure. I mean, you stream for 7 hours a day. Just
So
chop
why
it up,
is there not a
mate.
video?
Just
Yeah.
chop it up, mate. I mean, if you need some help, let me know.
He's all over it.
But just put this fucking content out, mate. People want to watch it.
Said with love and kindness, dude, so sort it out.
Nothing but love.
Sort it out.
Right, that's the end of my... Do we have another complaint to make? I think I'm complainted out today.
Did I have a complaint? No. I've
No.
got no complaint.
Right,
I
guys,
literally have no complaints.
watch this next clip.
Bring what you got. We're going all the way to the top. We will hear the sound of 1 million people screaming our names when we're backstage. We're playing